Hey there, this is Coach Bill coming to you from my at home studio. So I just want to reflect a little bit on um, some of the processes that I teach and maybe take a fresh perspective to our practice in meditation and mindfulness. And one of the things I did a couple interviews yesterday, and one of the things I discussed was the way that meditation can help us shift our perspective um, through our practice of being present and get back inside instead of focusing so much on the external stimulus of our life and just focus on finding connection with our intention and being present. um, but in that conversation there's a little bit of a uh, disconnect to some of the teaching, because some of the teaching, or even as we're leading a meditation, it's all about letting go. um, Sometimes it seems like we're talking about letting go of the striving and the wanting and the doing, while at the same time talking about striving to find peace and wanting to be calm and doing things like focusing on your breath or feeling your body or letting go. So there's a little bit of a, I don't know, it kind of varies. And when you think about that how we have to put some dedication into the practice. But that dedication is what really helps us improve the practice. Because as we practice letting go and connecting to the calm, releasing the outside noise, or focusing on the present, we start connecting to that, what it feels like. And that's what the practice is all about. Starting to connect to how it feels to be mindful and present in our life rather than worried about the future or stuck in the past. So it takes some practice, and it does take some doing to get there. So, one of the things that we work on in meditation is building this practice. Um, but this dedication kind of seems like it, it's almost like we're trying too hard. The concept of finding this spiritual connection is is almost like it's a chore. It's something that we need to do. It's like we have to attend some retreat. We have to try to go outside of our normal life to get into this practice. And there's this prize at the end of the tunnel. There's this goal, and the goal is to reach this spiritual awakening or enlightenment or whatever it is we're striving for, right? So um, a lot of times when we begin this practice, we're focused on giving it at all, doing everything we can to get there so we can get towards that goal. The goal is to be more mindful, right? Or is that the intention? Um, there's that paradox, right? Striving towards a goal that eliminates all goals and striving. It's the ego attempting to overcome the ego. So all these different things that show up in our practice, and trusting the fact that we can't truly overcome the ego by force. It's about releasing. So over time, we see that there's this teaching um, of having to go through the work to get to the place where we're not doing the work anymore. And one of the messages, and you never know when these quotes come up if they truly are connected, but the Buddha practice was that this formula, you have to have a thorn to remove a thorn, and that means it takes tremendous effort and will to gain that insight into yourself. And at the end, it's all about letting go of that. So using the force of practice and the power of the mind and even the ego to uproot everything that we believe justifies the means, getting there to that place of letting go. So when we apply this intensity and this focus to our practice, we find what the that is the tool that's going to get us where we are going, to that place where we can truly let go, because we start to understand what it is we're trying to reach. If we don't know what it truly feels like to be present and let go, then how do we know where we're going to go? And if we don't practice getting there, then how do we find that we can get there? With practice, that connection gets stronger and we're able to get there in that place. But what I've been focusing on lately and what I've been really focusing on teaching is that the practice of meditation is truly a practice of surrender. The only thing we have to do is let go, to completely surrender into the moment as it is, to discover that when we surrender and let go of all the striving, all of the sense of doing anything at all, there's nothing we need to do, to just let ourselves be. And in that space, we can surrender all our fears. We can surrender all our worries. For just a moment, we can surrender all our responsibilities and let go of everything, letting go of anything that we're obsessing about. And with practice, we get to that point of letting go of all of our expectations and judgments and letting go of the story that we keep telling ourselves about ourselves. And it's a place of discovery. When we learn to let go of all the outside and all the processes of the mind and all the tension that we're holding, we start to discover what it is to be present. And in that space of letting go, there's so much to hear, there's so much to see. And we allow ourselves to sink down into that place of peaceful surrender. Surrender sometimes seems like a word that, like we're giving up. But the truth is, we're not giving up. We're allowing ourselves to sink into the reality of what this moment is. And when we connect to that place, when we surrender our feelings and we surrender that need to hold ourselves and carry ourselves a certain way, and we surrender and let ourselves sink down into the soul, we can go into that place of discovery. It's a vast sea of mindfulness. It's a place of true reflection. And when we get into that place and we do it, we find that that practice, it lifts us up. That there's nothing that we need to truly do but sink into this place of peaceful surrender and see that when we get into that place, it's almost as if we're sinking into our heart. And then suddenly we found that we're surrounded by love, by peace, by clarity. And to see that these things are different than what we see on the surface. Love is just there. It's not something we need to strive for or reach for. Clarity is there, and peace is within us. They're simply there. So, as we begin this practice, or even if you've been practicing for many years, we have to see that it's almost impossible to touch that level of peace, that level of love, while we're still trying to get there. It means we have to allow ourselves to surrender, to let go right now, and come to this place of understanding that perhaps in this moment everything's okay. Perhaps in this moment everything is okay. Perhaps this moment I'm okay. And there's nothing in this moment that we need to change. And with practice, we can allow ourselves to surrender into the reality of this moment, to just let go. And when we get into that place and we're embraced by the power of love and compassion, where we're touched by that heart that gives us the forgiveness that we need, and we awaken ourselves to the gratefulness of just being alive, we feel love, we feel compassion, we feel that forgiveness and that gratitude, and we touch that sense of freedom. We touch everything as it is. And with that, we find our way to move forward. When we get into that place, we clear our mind and we can see more clearly where we want to go next. But we do it from that place of surrender. And that's what our practice is all about: surrender, to just let go, surrender into the present. And then we get to decide where we're going to go next from that peaceful place of acceptance of where we are, of what's going on around us, and how we're going to move forward with intention. And that's where we find the way forward. So that's my thought for today. Do with it what you will, but that's my reflection, my thought on the practice of surrender. And hope you have a beautiful day.